Alright, what's going on guys? Today, we're going to look at another World Championship winning deck in Magic the Gathering's history. And this time, it's going to be the deck that won the championship in 2005, Ghazi Glare, which was actually a green-white lockdown prison deck, which won the game by locking down your board while pummeling you with big, beefy creatures. So the 2005 World Championship would take place in Yokohama, Japan, and the deck would be piloted by Katsuhiro Mori. Standard at the time was composed of the Kamigawa block, the original Ravnica block, and the 9th edition core set. So Ghazi Glare was built around Glare of the Subdual, a 4-mana enchantment that simply lets you tap an artifact or a creature by tapping one of your own creatures. So basically, as long as you had more creatures than your opponent, you could permanently keep their stuff tapped down. Because remember, you can activate this at any time, so you just tap all of your opponent's stuff at the beginning of their upkeep, and they can never have stuff that's untapped. Ever. Now, if you look at the minor details of this card, you can probably figure out why it was so good. There are two key features outside of the text box that are major clues as to how this deck worked. I'll give you 5 seconds to figure them out. The two most important things is that it's a card printed in Ravnica, and it's green and white. Do you know what that means? It means tokens. Alright, so this deck combined Glare of the Subdual with things like Vitu-Ghazi the City Tree and Selesnya Guildmage to produce tokens. And those tokens would basically keep your entire board locked down forever. Oh yeah, yep, that's what this deck did. This deck just matched your board piece by piece by producing a token for each card you have in play and then taps it forever. Hooray. So the creatures that it looked to kill its opponent with, in addition to a never-ending horde of tokens, were Kodama of the North Tree, Yosei the Morning Star, and Arashi the Sky Asunder. So Kodama of the North Tree is the most important because it has Shroud. So not only did the deck effectively lock the opponent out of defending themselves, but the creature that was rapidly killing them couldn't be targeted by removal. So basically there was nothing they could do to stop it. The dragon also does what this deck wants to do. It's a 5/5 flyer, and if it dies, it gets to tap 5 permanents, and they don't untap the following turn. And when I say they don't untap, I mean the opponent skips their entire untap step. Super fun. Arashi is just a way to deal with flyers. You can pay X and green and tap it to blow up a big flyer, and you can use its channel ability to play it like a spell, wiping out all flyers on the board. And also, it just so happens to smash face as well, so there's that. By now, you might be thinking, but what happens if the opponent plays a board sweeper? Well, great news. This deck also played Loxodon Hierarch. Not only is it a pretty decent 4-mana 4/4 that gains 4 life when it enters the battlefield, but you can pay 2 mana and sacrifice it to regenerate all of your stuff. So, it's board sweeper insurance. Great. Not only did it keep all of your stuff tapped down, but you couldn't target the thing that was beating you in the face, and also you couldn't cast the board sweeper. The deck also played Congregation at Dawn, which is a 3-mana instant that lets you search your library for 3 creatures and put them on the top of your library, which just made this all that much more consistent. You can get a Guildmage to produce tokens, you can get a Kodama to smash face, you can get a Loxodon to protect your board. So the deck just, you know, it got all of its stuff every time. And then the deck played Llanowar Elf, Birds of Paradise, and Wood Elves, all of which helped the deck to set itself up to lock down the opponent even faster and provide extra mana to produce more tokens at a faster pace, as well as, you know, just being bodies to tap down your opponent's stuff with. So it seems like there couldn't be any more nonsense with this deck. And then there's Umezawa's Jitte, which is basically a completely busted card. Okay, so it's an equipment that gets 2 charge counters every time the equipped creature deals damage. And remember, that's any damage, not just damage to the player. And then you can start removing those counters to either massively pump up a creature or start killing off small creatures that your opponent has. Oh, or gain 2 life. per charge counter. What made this card so powerful though was that those charge counters were attached to the equipment itself. So if the creature died, it didn't matter because the charge counters remained on the equipment. So it's pretty good card. And then the final two cards in the deck were Seed Spark and Pithing Needle. Seed Spark blows up an enchantment or an artifact and gives you a couple tokens to use with Glare of the Subdual. Pithing Needle lets you name a card, and that card's activated abilities can't be activated. You know, just in case your opponent's win condition didn't require a card to be tapped, you got all your bases covered now. If they're winning with creatures, if they're winning with artifacts, you could probably win with Glare of the Subdual, but if they were winning without those, then you just, you play Pithing Needle, and then they can't activate their win condition. That's pretty good, and that right there is Ghazi Glare. So a quick look at the mana base. The deck played Selesnya Sanctuary, Rush Land, and Temple Garden, all of which are dual lands with different drawbacks. After that, the deck played Okina Temple of the Grandfathers and the aforementioned Vitu-Ghazi the City Tree. And then the deck played 5 forests and 1 plains to round out the mana base. And next, we'll take a super quick look at the sideboard. As always, we won't go too in depth here as that requires an understanding of the entire metagame, but the deck played extra copies of Kodama of the North Tree and the Dragon, so you could adjust those ratios as you see fit. The deck also plays Hikori Duststreaker and Seedboard Muse. Hikori stops lands from untapping, and then the Seedboard Muse allows you to untap all of your stuff on your opponent's turn, which means you can not only tap all of their stuff down, but also attack relentlessly with everything, because on your opponent's untap step, you untap all of your stuff too. The deck also played Kodama's Reach, Carve and Carotid, and Greater Good. Reach was another mana ramp spell, the Carotid was a fantastic defensive creature against aggro decks, and Greater Good lets you sacrifice the creature to draw some cards. And then the deck played Naturalize for enchantments and artifacts, and it had Wrath of God, just in case things weren't going your way. This deck wanted to go wide, but just in case another deck was going wider, you had that in the sideboard. And that is Ghazi Glare, a green-white, a sort of prison lockdown deck that kept your board tapped down and then pummeled you with big stuff. Yep, that's the deck that won the Magic the Gathering World Championship in 2005. Now, you are a little bit more familiar with Magic the Gathering's history and another classic deck from the early days of the game. If you want to see more World Championship decks like this, check the description, there should be a playlist, and be sure to subscribe as there will surely be more to come. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.